Welcome back to PMB. Pardon me, brother.
Pardon me, brother.
Awesome. Glad to have you back. We're back. It's been a while.
It's been too long.
It's been a little bit, isn't it? It's been a hot
it's
minute.
been too long, that's for sure.
But we've invited a guest today,
Yes, we did.
and we're going to do some introductions here. But I'm going to turn over my big brother Jim.
Part of the reason it's been so long since we've done a podcast because
Why?
we said we weren't going to do one until this guest was ready.
What?
And it's not his fault. It's on us. We weren't ready yet. Okay, so
We got a lot
we
of
have a
people.
special guest today.
Go ahead.
Well, we've had a couple of your children here. So today,
What?
I want to welcome my youngest son, Jarod, to
Woo!
the podcast.
Jared. You get it going on there. I'm the only one that clapped. That's disturbing. So,
Can't
Jared,
clap for myself.
good to have you here. Glad to have you here.
It's good to be here.
We've talked about it for quite some time about having you
Yeah.
come aboard and do this. And I know you've been listening to us at work and stuff like that, but obviously we wanted to kind of start off with you in here and just ask you some pretty basic stuff here just to kind of get things warmed up.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to find out, and Jim and I were curious on how you've been liking the podcast so far, and if there's maybe a favorite topic or something that out of the episodes we've had, is there a favorite one that you've kind of leaned back for and keep listening to?
Honestly, it's the definitely the wrestling one about you guys' old days of WWE.
Oh, yeah.
And how you guys
Give us one,
experienced
Jim.
it.
Give us another one. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh,
Those were really funny. And you guys dressing up and everything was hilarious.
that was totally Jim's idea.
Never again.
And like hearing the stories about like Grandpa missing, going to one with you guys,
Yeah.
and you guys all standing up and screaming. It was funny.
Yeah.
Just seeing him in a different light was great too.
Well, I'll tell you that on the wrestling stuff, and I know Jim will chime in here too, but I mean, to the best of our recollection, we didn't really exaggerate any of that stuff. I mean,
No.
that's the way that I remember it. And I know I'm getting older, but is that what you remember too, Jim? Because that's what I remember.
Oh,
I missed
yeah,
it.
absolutely.
That
Absolutely.
stuff was
It's
hilarious.
just the way it was.
Hey, let me ask Jared this real quick. It's kind of on the same topic, but were you surprised when you saw that wrestler that I got the interview with?
Oh yeah,
came on
that was hilarious.
and
I had
Barry,
to stop
Barry
and,
Horowitz going, I remember you.
yeah, I had to stop and look at my phone while I was stacking tires and I'm like, really?
I remember
And
you,
watch it
Jim.
was really funny.
Yeah, that's really him. That was him.
No, I believe it.
Crazy.
I've heard.
I
about,
remember you,
people
Meatball.
doing that cameo stuff.
Yeah,
and
yeah. It was
Supposed to be a
neat.
lot of people on
It's
there.
just awesome.
I had that for so long. It was the worst. It was like having an ulcer and you couldn't tell anybody. It was horrible because I had that for so long, and
Yeah.
I tell your dad everything, and and I think he reciprocates
Yeah.
back, but I had this, and it was about your dad, and it was like it was eating me alive that I could not just share this with him because I so badly wanted to do it. So,
Hannah says I'm really bad at secrets, which I am.
well, this is fun stuff.
I don't
This
like
is-
waiting. It's
this
just
is
fun
fun
to
stuff,
It's fun
yeah.
to get something and then show somebody hey,
Fun
look what I
secrets
got.
are different.
Yes.
Some are fun to keep if you're trying to surprise somebody with something.
Like,
but it's
yeah.
harder if you're trying to surprise.
I got to the computer last night and I went out and immediately told her. I'm like, I'm gonna wait till Sunday. Walked out there. I'm like, hey, guess what I got? Immediately.
Well, listen, on that note, in a sense, when we're talking about these podcasts, was there a second best one that, if it wasn't wrestling or maybe Grandpa Missing, was there something else that you can kind of recall that?
Well, I think I like the one with Sam as well. Just she's closer to my age, so it's a lot of the same kind of shared memories
Right.
and shared experiences.
Yeah, you and Sam are
Yeah.
pretty close as far as the cousins go.
Well,
Yeah.
Jim, that was an impromptu deal. That wasn't even really overly planned.
No.
Remember that?
Yeah, you were here for that.
For some of it,
you
yeah.
were here for
Yeah, it was Sam's birthday.
Eventually,
Yes.
I went home.
And then everybody kind of started fizzling out, and you and I were goofing around, had all the podcast equipment out,
Uh-huh.
and as I recall. And then we said, hey, well, Sam's here. Let's just do a real quick. And we didn't have anything prepared. We didn't tell her nothing. We didn't even, it was all, off the hip, man. So
Yeah.
it was fun. It was a good time. But it was to the point where actually, Jim, I meant to tell you that I talked to Sam the other day, and Sam says to me, she says, when you guys get back around to me, can I have a real podcast? Because that was an impromptu, quick thing. And I just laughed, and I went, sure.
Yeah,
do
next
it.
year.
We can do that.
2026 sounds
Man,
good.
we have so many people.
They're lined up. They're all begging to come on.
It's been fun. We've had a great time with it. It's been what I would consider a very successful, thing that we're doing here and trying to do with the family, and it's been fun. But I got to say, I take my brother time like real seriously, and I'm a little what's the word I used before? I'm a little selfish with my brother time. So I do enjoy the ones that Jim and I just do together.
He's my brother.
Yeah.
I love the
All
family
two of
coming
them?
in, but yeah, how many was it? Only two?
No, I think it's been 3 or
my
4.
God.
A couple.
Oh my
There's a
God.
couple.
Well, Jared, let's kind of move on to the next question then. And what direction would you like to see the podcast kind of go in? What do you see as our future?
I mean, I like how it's going now. It's just nice to hear you guys tell stories and share your experiences and keep talking with members of the family and just kind of just fun.
You told me you really liked the first one when we did the topic and the generations, which we're going to talk a little bit about today. But would you like to hear us discuss topics?
Yes.
Like some
Yeah.
just between Grant and I, or maybe sometimes with a guest, we could also bring
Yeah.
them in on some topics too.
No, it's definitely nice to have like some kind of topic as well, but plenty of room.
It's definitely
for-
what we
to
want to
move
do.
around for
We've just been
things,
trying to get through the family and get everybody
Yeah.
in here and get everybody on. But we do want to do just Grant and I do some topics, and also with other people too.
A lot of
know.
like the podcasts I like to watch too is like they do like a little bit of current too. So it's like, oh, this is really cool. I love a lot of wildlife podcasts, so I just love like learning something really stupid. I'm like, this is cool. Do you have any idea this has happened?
Okay, write that down, Grant. Stupid.
Just something that I would find interesting that's like just a little bit to learn, you know.
Oddities in life. That's-
Yes,
write
yes. Well, why don't we go ahead and why don't we do like a baseline on Jared? It's kind of one of the things that you wrote down there. You want to ask the baseline? Why
that
don't
down.
you
Sure.
go-
Just tell us, how old you are and what you do right now, and what are your plans? What do
Well,
you got
I'm
going
just about 24. I'll be 24 next month, so very soon. Getting old.
I
Right now,
almost got it.
I'm a painter for a realty company, so I just go in and paint vacant homes and stuff like that. And hopefully,
cool.
I'll be a police officer in the next 5 to 10 years.
on? Oh
That's
yeah.
my intention. Yeah, I test in about a month, so we'll see.
We talked about that on our podcast. Did you hear that?
Briefly,
With one of our
possibly.
guests. Grant.
Oh, with Larry?
Grant took the test. Yeah.
Larry obviously is a police officer, which you know,
Mm-hmm.
but Larry and I took the test together at the same time. And I actually, and this is the only way I can pat myself on the back, I actually scored higher than Larry. However, okay, Uncle Larry, as I like to call him, he had that military background.
Yeah.
So he gets points for that. And that bumped him up above me, and then he got the call. And actually, what's kind of funny about all that is Nathan, when he was here, Jim, do you remember? He made the comment on the side. He goes, "I think the right man got the job."
Yeah, definitely.
And I 100% agree with that.
I do
so,
too.
where are you with the? I guess you've been doing some physical fitness training for that.
Yeah.
How's that going?
It was a lot better a few months ago, but I've kind of stopped. There's been way too much going on, and I don't get out of work until very late, and I'm exhausted by then. And
Got it.
I need to get back into it, but I think I'm about as prepared as I can be. I need to be running a little bit more this month, but I think I have as good a shot as I can.
Well, you know, the funny thing about the physical fitness aspect of it is you end up having what they call that muscle memory.
Yeah.
So when you get back into it and your body realizes it and gets the signals that, okay, I'm not goofing around.
Yeah.
Right. It will react very quickly.
And
when you get back.
I've also always been more of a like, this is when I actually have to do it versus
Sure.
this isn't real. I know I can slack and I will.
Okay.
Like like the best way I can say is like I have trouble getting up in the morning, but if I have to go to work, it's no problem. I'm up, go to work. I'm always at work on time. I'm rarely late.
Right.
But if I don't really have to get up in the morning, then I won't.
Right.
You know.
So, if you want to be a police officer, to some sort, be a police officer.
Yeah.
So where do you see yourself in 5 and maybe 10 years from now? What do you see for yourself?
Being a police officer.
What else?
I mean,
and what? Just that?
I don't know. It's that opens up a realm of opportunities, but I don't know exactly which route I want to take yet until I won't kid myself and believe that I know enough to decide right now, like what my pay would be, what my requirements would be, where I might have to be,
Right.
what my duties would be, my hours. I have no idea.
Well, let me ask you this then, kind of in the same scenario there, Jim. If you become let's just say Toledo, you become a Toledo police officer, and you're doing that job, would you want to, or do you see yourself expanding into more of a detective role or maybe a sergeant role down the road?
Maybe
or-
sergeant, but I don't want to be a detective. Detective and investigation doesn't get me at all.
Doesn't interest you?
No, nothing.
Okay.
K9, maybe tactical team, stuff like that. Narco
Okay.
units, something like that.
Okay, I think that's kind of what your dad was poking at. Is
Yeah,
like, where do you
more
see
like
yourself
hands-on.
expanding?
But like I said, it's like I just know there's so many places to go, and I really won't know until I'm there. Start as a patrol officer, see what happens.
Gotcha.
I'll go for sergeant because I can still be a sergeant as a parole officer within a year of graduation. I'm eligible to be a sergeant, and they make like 25% more. So
Well, it's kind of like money on the table then. At that
Yeah,
point, it's almost
exactly.
like, well, why wouldn't you try to do?
I think there's
it?
like 100 that are retiring in the next 4 years, sergeants.
Okay, so
So
it's
like
good
they
timing.
have,
for
they have
you.
huge swaths of open tracks, and like it seems really quick to open to rise up right now because like the people who are in charge of training have only been graduated for like 2 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they've only had like 2 years seniority, and they're already on this different team with different ranks.
wow.
And
Jim, you know who's also retiring in that timetable, right?
You?
No, Larry.
No,
No, the
yeah.
cop, Larry. I mean, he's got probably 5 years, maybe like 8 years or something like that. I think he said that he's got left, and then
Yeah.
he's done too.
Yeah.
So he'll be done too. So,
retiring is great from the police department. It's fantastic.
well, I know the benefits are fantastic.
Oh, beyond.
Yeah.
Like your benefits are worth well in the millions.
Most of your civil servants are,
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
benefits
because
are good.
so for TPD, the benefits packages, you can actually go into like most of the retirement packages all at the same time. So your 401k, your Roth, a string of like I3B or what I don't remember what it's called,
Right.
but you can buy into all of those at the same time. And TPD has grandfather clauses, so you can retire I think 5 years early. So you can access all of those accounts before you're 65.
Nice.
So yeah, you can retire 5 years early, and then you get your pension as well, which is 60% of your highest 5 years. So if you make 100K, which is very reasonable, because starting patrolman's in like 78, and they're apparently negotiating for more money. So a sergeant makes well in the 98s to 100. So you would get $60,000 for the rest of your life every year just on your pension alone.
Oh my gosh.
And that doesn't count your retirement account, your 401k, your Roth, none of it.
Nice.
That's outstanding.
Absolutely.
Let's are you good with that, or you got
Yeah.
anything else you want to do
No,
on
that's
that?
good.
Since you're kind of the grand poobah of the next one, in my
Okay.
opinion, because you brought me in.
I grand poobah, huh?
You brought me into that mess. So
Okay.
why don't you?
So, Jared, obviously, we've gone camping every year since you were, what, 5 at least?
Something like that.
Sorry, couldn't help it.
Okay, so what's your earliest camping memory of you and
Don't
me?
know.
It was that Yuri shit his pants.
That never happened. But there's plenty of like, plenty of stuff
never
that
did
did.
He never
I couldn't.
did.
I couldn't tell you what my earliest one is because I don't remember
What's
how
one
old
that
I
you're
was.
fond of?
Fond of?
Yeah.
Oh, there's been so much.
Well, just give us a few things.
Hit us with the high points. If
A lot of
there's
my more
one or two.
fond are, of course, when I'm older and I'm more around. But there's also
Yeah.
the memorable, like, of course, my tree. My tree was great. I don't remember how old I was. Either that got concussed out of me, or
I don't know. What are you talking about? Tree? Can you go into some detail on this?
I don't need to go into detail.
Oh, yes,
you
we
know
do.
What, you know
Yes,
what
we do.
happened.
What?
I don't have the picture.
I don't know what this is about.
You don't have to worry about the picture going.
There
up
was a
there.
hill there, and my dad
you
said,
later.
"Don't go down the hill
Yeah, tell me there.
on my bike."
How old were you,
I don't know. I think like 6,
I
7.
think I do remember this story now. We just talked about
Jared?
it.
This
time we
was
went.
your first trip.
That was not my first trip.
Yes, it was.
It was not.
I believe.
I think it was. I don't remember
Okay,
my
your
first-
second.
second or third. Something.
Okay,
That's what
so
I'm
you're
saying. Like, I
talking
don't
5 or
remember-
6.
Yeah, I don't really remember how old I was. That's the problem. Is like you say earliest memory, but I don't know how old I was.
I'm
Like, I
pretty sure
remember-
the picture I have has a date on it. We'll see.
You can check the date. I don't
Dun
know.
dun dun.
But I went. He told me not to go down the hill on my bike.
So your dad gave you specific instructions
Yes.
that you
And
failed
then-
to listen to.
and then left me unsupervised.
Well, why?
Oh.
Like he said, just 5 or 6 left
Threw
me
me in.
unsupervised. Knew there was something dangerous and just left me alone. So of course I went down the hill and I immediately headfirst into a tree.
Oh, for
Going
God's
down the
sakes.
hill. Oh, it was bad.
Oh, God.
Bad.
Where was I at?
I don't know. Walking with Tracy somewhere.
At the bottom of the hill.
No, you guys were at the top. You came down.
No,
Randy was at the bottom. I scared him.
No, we were at the bottom coming, and we saw you coming down the hill. You came right at me.
I don't know.
I just couldn't get to you in time. I saw you, but you were off the trail before I could run up there and get to you.
That's why I like helmets now.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Oh yeah, no, I bruised my entire face, cut from forehead down to the bottom of my stomach.
He had a
It was-
line, Grant, that went down
Yeah.
from his head where the big bump on his head was. It went right across. He cut himself above the eye. And below the eye, you could see the mark of
Yeah.
the tree. And it
Incredible
went straight down.
it didn't
And his
scar.
chest.
Oh, my
Literally.
God.
Yeah.
Like
the line.
bleeding too. Like I was bleeding. Like it's incredible.
It's great.
Oh my
He wasn't like
was bleeding.
he wasn't like losing blood, where he needed transfusion.
How many,
But he was great. He had scrapes. And he was
Definitely
bleeding.
had a concussion too, but we did nothing about it.
Probably.
Definitely.
Looking back at it, I'd say
Yeah.
concussed for
How many years, Jared, do you think that you've been going camping with your dad? Not necessarily the ones that we do
Nearly
on Memorial
20,
Day.
probably.
About 20 years.
I've only ever gone to the Memorial Day once. I think I went to like one other park one
Did you?
time.
Okay.
Yeah, but he never took me.
Well, I know.
Just Justin. You didn't. I went to
Where?
Pinckney one time, I think.
Is that right, Jim, or no?
Well, Justin has been there that many times. That's not true.
It's more than me.
That was the July trip that we took.
No,
When,
yeah, I
when
think
Uncle
yeah.
Ross
I
ran
went,
over your bike
Yeah, immediately
and
destroyed
popped
my
his
bike.
tire.
Dun, 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 dun.
And then got mad about it. Like, ran over my bike.
Well, let me ask you this then. Okay, this kind of is in the same tone with the rest of the stuff. I know we said, your most fondest memory, but why don't you give me, when somebody starts talking about camping, let's just say it's somebody that doesn't necessarily know you or your family, and they say, hey, did you ever go camping? And you say, oh my God, yeah, I used to go camp with my dad, all the time, and we still go on that. If they said, well, what is your most favorite memory of camping with your dad? What do you think that
It would depend on who I'm talking to. Because if I don't want them to think we're weird, I would just mention all the normal stuff like football and canoeing and roasting. But then if I want them
What
to know
about
that
some
we're
of our
weird,
canoeing trips, though? Have we had just regular?
no,
like-
not one time.
So explain that.
Well, I've almost drowned during one.
Oh my
And
God.
almost drowned.
I did almost drown
How
several
about-
times.
How about the one just 3 years ago when Grant and I went floating down the river and you and Nick were there trying to save me?
Yeah, I think that's the one where we almost drowned.
I was literally standing on a branch under the water.
Yeah,
Don't know.
and that happened. Yeah.
Couldn't feel anything else. The current's trying to pull me, and I'm holding on to another branch.
Oh yeah.
Grant and the canoe are.
And everything
Grant, my
else in the
partner,
canoe.
Everything's
is
gone.
down the canoe. Yeah, he's catching.
I was laying like this in the water.
He's trying to
And I'm
catch
just
the paddles.
floating. I've got the rope
Shoes.
with the canoe that's
Oh, the exact
upside
same
down.
thing.
Shoes.
We got the exact same thing 2 years
God
ago because
almighty.
when we went, when Nick and I got in, they're like,
Yeah.
this one might have a leak. And we're like, does it? And they're like, we don't know. So just threw us in. Yeah, it had a leak.
Oh, good God.
So every time
Yes.
any shift happened, all the water would shift to one side and flip us straight in the water. It didn't
Oh,
matter
for
what we
God's
did.
sakes.
It just didn't matter. If we shifted our weight at all, 80 pounds of water would shift to the side
Oh,
and
sure.
dump us
You
in.
got two grown men and 200
So
pounds.
yeah, no, so we flipped 10, 12 times, and the current was crazy deep, and there was like snakes everywhere. Nick almost grabbed a black snake because I was like, there's a snake, there's a snake, there's a snake, and I kept saying it. He's like, what? And then he's like, oh my God, I'm like, it's right there, like not touching it. But I think like the best canoeing was when
There was no snake.
when we did have our exes with us, and we had so many. I think we had like 15 people going canoeing. They're like, we have 5 canoes. We're like, that's
It's a lot.
not enough. So we need more. Like we have this floaty that 2 people can sit on. So we had them on that. We're like, don't pop it. They
They
immediately
popped
popped it. Like 2 minutes down, and we were in the back, so we just kind of put
Whoops.
them in and said, okay. Go, and we swam for 2 hours. The
Yeah,
entire
you guys floated
river.
back the
Yeah.
whole way, didn't you?
Not all of it. A lot of walking. You can't
of
swim
walking.
swim
the
in
shallow
6 inches
stuff,
of
yeah.
water. A lot of times we just be
That's-
floating along, and then all of a sudden we start scraping. I'm like, okay, and I gotta walk 10 feet.
Yeah. I remember the one a couple years ago that Jim was referencing to that. So we get capsized. Jim's kind of, getting himself in a good spot. I'm floating on my back, because I grabbed all I saw was the rope for the canoe because the canoe went under.
Yep.
I had all the, life jackets, which somebody will say, well, I didn't wear the life jacket. So life jackets are floating by, our shoes are floating by. I just like grab. And then I remember floating down, and it was deep enough that you couldn't stop it. You couldn't fight it to stop
No,
it. You just had to
it
go
was
with
a
it.
really deep spot,
You
which
had
is
to float
rare.
with it,
rare in that river.
It's like
I have no
started-
idea what's at the bottom too.
No.
So they're just like, oh,
No.
just float. It's like, yeah, but you don't know what you're gonna hit.
Oh, nothing.
Rocks,
But get
logs or
sharp
sticks. Yeah, no idea.
Snakes.
But get
no
this,
idea.
I go floating. Jared's there, and they've like used their oars, right? There's Jared and Nick, and they use their oars, and they locked in, so they're not moving. I go floating by, and Jared goes, "Yeah, all right." And I was going like this, going, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good." I just go floating past him. Oh my god!
We're trying to. He's like, we want some
Oh
help.
my
You're like,
God.
nope.
I said,
can't
"No,
do anything about it.
can't do it." I
anyway."
said, meet me down the river so I can find a place to stand."
You guys had to come. You got me.
Yeah, we
And
like
then
we
went-
got him.
Then we floated down, got through the current.
We had to like fight up river to get to you.
get to Grant,
Like,
Yeah.
and you had to help us flip the
Yeah.
canoe back over.
no, Nick and I have been significant helpers a lot, and more than one
Oh, yeah.
time we've also been left by ourselves because of it. We help everybody, and then everybody goes, and then we need help, and there's nobody
There's
around.
nobody
there. Right.
Cool. Bye, guys.
There's nobody there.
I remember coming back from one of them, and we're like 20 minutes behind everybody else, and Grant's there, and he's like, "Well, I tried to wait for you, but then I just couldn't." So I'm like, "Cool, thanks. That helps." He's like, "Well, then everybody else left, so I just went with them." I'm like, "Thank you. That makes it
Well,
better."
I wasn't. Hey, for my own defense, I was riding a canoe with somebody else. So it wasn't like I could just stop. Anyways, that's.
I remember the
story for
first
another day.
couple years that you went by yourself.
Yeah.
I was stuck back at camp waiting for you, and I remember the one time you and Nick were. It might have been.
I think that's when we swam.
You came walking back.
Yeah, that's when we
And I
swam.
was so mad because I was like freaking out because I don't know where you are.
Yeah.
I don't. And,
There was nothing we could do.
And
we
there was
couldn't have
nothing,
five
and there was
people in the
nothing I could
canoe.
do either. It's not like I just said, "Well, I'm out of here."
Yeah.
When you're floating down with the current, you just kind of get lost, and once you're out of sight, we think you're just right behind, but don't know that you got stuck and now you're walking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, where are they? And I think I even walked up because it was shallow by the camp there. And I
Yeah.
started walking up the river. And then all of a sudden I hear Nick yelling. And then you guys come walking. I'm like, what the hell? But yeah.
And nobody told you either.
few years of
Everybody's
that- oh,
like,
yeah.
you're like, nobody's going on.
Where's
It's like,
Jarod? I have no idea.
No idea. It's like,
I
not like the
think-
three people
Thanks.
we put in their canoe.
I think it was that year that because I know I was there, and I think that year, whatever it was like 40 minutes behind.
Oh, yeah,
everybody
they
else.
were
You
really
remember
far-
that?
yeah,
It was a
'cause they were
long
walking
time.
and
yeah,
we didn't know
we were
that.
walking the whole thing because
Yeah.
we couldn't put 5 people in canoe. The river's nowhere near strong enough, and it wouldn't have done anything. So we just put them in and said, I guess we'll just
And you
have to swim.
And you guys we're talking, this is years ago. So you were under 18.
Yes.
Or, okay, 16 to 18 maybe in that
Yeah,
age range.
16, 17. I think we were 18 maybe.
Okay, but
Closer.
young enough for me to worry about
Yeah.
you.
Well,
You
still,
know.
of course, you'd worry. You don't know where your kids are on a
No.
river.
No.
Well, it doesn't matter how old your kids are.
Yeah.
You're always
Well,
gonna
I understand
be
that.
concerned.
I
about it.
understand that, but I was
But
really
you had
concerned.
legit reasons. I mean,
And
you had a legit
where
thing
are
going
they?
on. Yeah. You want to do the next one here?
Sure.
What else you got for
Yeah,
we'll segue to the next one?
Okay, we can segue into the next one. We talked earlier about the podcast, the first podcast Grant and I did, and we talked about the generations. So we wanted to talk with you a little bit about that because you said you really liked that topic. We were talking about the differences between our generation and the generation of today, right? And you are a millennial or no?
No, I'm Y or X. I don't keep track, but I'm not
We're
millennial.
X.
I think I'm Y then.
You're definitely not X. You must be a Y.
Or, am I,
Or is it a
I might
Gen
be
Z? He's probably
I
a
think
Gen
he's
Z.
I think I'm right at the
you're
start of
Gen
Z.
Okay.
I'm one of the letters.
He sounds like a Z. So he's probably
Hey.
a
So
Z.
what are some differences in the
Stop it.
generations that you know of in between ours and yours?
Well, it's just everything's different. Just how you're raised, how we were raised, what was at our access, what's easier, what's much harder.
Phones, you have
know?
phones.
Yeah,
You have the everything at your fingertips. We did not.
yeah. But
You were talking-
there's a lot of trade-offs though too. It's like a lot of people know way too much and they have way too much access to it. Like I'm not really a huge social media believer. I don't like it. I think
Right.
people do not need to see everything else everybody else is doing because too many people become envious and too many people try to, oh well, I want to be like this person. Like you don't know them.
You don't know
I have
them.
no idea what they're going
Right.
through. Just
Right.
live your own life and be happy.
Right.
And people get so
Right.
upset. I think it's why like there's so much like depression and stuff nowadays and anxiety. They're like, you don't need to be like that other person. Just be you and enjoy your life. But people don't do that. They're too focused on everybody else around them.
Yes.
It's a problem.
That is a problem. I've discussed that, I think, with Grant before, and I know I've discussed it with you.
Yeah, I just
social
don't. I don't
media,
like.
yeah.
I don't like Facebook. I don't really care for TikTok or
Yeah.
some of the videos are fun, but it's just too much comparisons. Too many people compare to each other, and they don't need to.
What about let's stay on the same topic there for a minute there, Jared. Let's put you in the future a little bit, okay? And I want you to answer this super quick. I want you to kind of think for a sec. Let's say you have kids. Mm-hmm. This and it's not social media, but the entertainment / information age is not going to go back to what it was. It's going to just move forward.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
So with that being said, we had the conversation, Jim and I, and we actually talked to Sam about it too. So we're kind of curious, really, to hear what your take would be on this. But with your kids in the future, since your dad and I and everybody in the Gen X scenario, we never grew up with that stuff. Our parents had no way to know how to parent us with that stuff. We had no way to know what to do because it was something that was completely new for our generation. Right. So when it comes to your kids and stuff like with cell phones and tablets and that, how would you go about monitoring what you would consider a healthy amount of time of exposure, like around dinner time and stuff like that? What do you do with the kids?
Well, when we were coming up, a lot of it was like, we didn't really care when it was us as kids, but growing up, a lot of it was fair and it was very understandable, such as like no phones at the dinner table, stuff like that, and like even like when we started, like they started watching TV and stuff with dinner. I just never really. I wasn't a part of it because it just didn't really interest me any. I prefer to just sit at the table and eat and talk with each other, and I try to stay off my phone. And I'd give Hannah
you can cough. It's okay.
I'm just
don't do it.
I'd give her crap too when she was on her phone, and like we're trying to talk here. It's like, why you gotta be on your phone?
Do you the two of you do you turn your phones off at dinner? I mean, are you on your phones at all? Or?
Not much, but we've gotten into the habit of like when we're spending time together, we put our phones away. So if we're gonna watch a movie or something, phones go somewhere else, or we're gonna just spend time together.
Or at least don't get on them unless somebody calls you.
Yeah, so we put them somewhere where we can hear them, but it's just like we don't need to watch them, because I my biggest problem is I'm always on my phone looking things up. Because like especially when I'm watching a movie, I'm like, oh, what happened to this person in this movie? Like we were watching Harry Potter, and I'm like, oh, what was all this? I'm like looking up stuff about the movies where. Haven't even watched yet, but I've seen them all. So I'm like looking everything up, and I'm like, why am I on my phone? We're watching the movie.
Right.
But from a parental standpoint, how would you regulate your kids?
I would probably do time, especially when they're younger, and I would try to keep them away from social media until they, in basis, have a sense of who they are. And don't have to rely on other people to tell them.
Keep them away from or keep them off?
Keep them off.
I mean, basically, like, you're not going to have a social media account yourself.
I don't. They have no need for that, in my opinion. The kids don't need that. Parents don't need to be having their kids on it. It's like, I don't post pictures of myself. I don't want to post pictures of my 5-year-old. It's just not. Everybody who needs these pictures is going to get them from me directly.
What I've kind of picked up on, Jim, is with all the kids of Gen Z, or that generation and that, is that I think they've had the opportunity to use these cell phones and tablets and all the social media. And with anything, in moderation is fine.
Yeah.
Right? So, but I think what they've seen is that no one in that Gen Z class has really had it in moderation. It's been such an influx of this that I think, and I've heard this from Abby, I've heard this from Sam, definitely heard this from Tyler, which I thought was really funny because I'm like, you're gonna, okay. And now I'm actually kind of hearing it from you. I'm getting the feeling it's like they understand that this has been way too much.
Yes, there was too much of it all at one time.
We're going to crank this baby back, and they're not going to have this much exposure because it's just not good. Yeah. It's just not good.
No, they need more time, just like time spending doing other things, other hobbies. I don't care if you want to play video games or anything. It's like, but just do other things as well. Read books. I do a lot of reading. I do audiobooks. I listen to tons of audiobooks. I like them. I do different things. It's just spending too much time on social media itself is, in my opinion, some of the worst things.
What do you think about like instituting like a game night one weekend a month or something?
No, that'd be cool. I want to play. I want to play games so bad.
Yeah.
I don't have enough people, and it infuriates me. I need like 6 people.
And
I don't know 6 people anymore.
You and Hannah need to come over and play games with me.
Dude, we would love to play games, but we still need more people. That's just 4 of us.
I know.
We need more.
Some of the games today.
Can't ask Justin and Lake. They're always busy with kids.
Yeah, they got kids. That's what life does to you, unfortunately.
I know. I'm not giving them crap.
Jim, I know we did you kind of asked about the advantages of the different generations.
Yes.
Did we ask Jarod, is there an advantage of his generation over the other generations that he feels?
No, I don't think we did.
What do you think about that?
Well, it's one that I've noticed, but most people don't take advantage of is technology.
Okay.
People do use technology, but they don't use it in the ways they can. You can learn anything with technology, but most people don't. They just use it to look at stupid videos or.
So they're not using it in ways that's going to benefit them.
Yeah,
They're
but there's a million ways you could benefit from technology, but there's also a million ways where you can fall, and most people focus on those other ones.
So it's kind of like they're using it more for the entertainment aspects of it versus the educational aspects of it. Is kind of what you're saying.
Like having the access of everything on the internet to at your fingertips is incredible.
Absolutely incredible.
And it's something that's only been around for about 15 years, but people don't really take that. They watch videos of people playing video games or just other stupid stuff.
Watch that.
I know, but I'm talking about most people my age,
You don't what?
I don't watch people playing video games.
or just people talking and just doing random things. I like one of
Like
my
us.
favorite thing is I love. That's why I like podcasts. Podcasts are cool, but I always pick and choose. I like the JRE, I like the Joe Rogan Experience. I just do.
Yeah.
But I don't like all of them. Like a lot of the stuff he has is stupid, but I like all the wildlife guys he brings on. I love them, and they always has great topics.
Well, he's a good interviewer.
Oh yeah, he's a great interviewer.
He
I know he's got
asks
some
good questions and
stupid.
stuff.
He's got his own stupid point of views, but he gets on such a variety of people that I think anybody can truly listen to his podcast and find ones he
It
likes.
seems like he's very well. When I say educated, meaning that when he has a guest come on, he does a lot of background ahead of time.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
So he's not being. I never seen Joe Rogan get surprised with something that they said that he was like, "Oh, I didn't think about that at all." I mean, that's not typically what happens on his shows. But I do have a confession about watching video games on video.
I've done it too.
I've always wanted to play that dumb game, that Red Dead Redemption 2, right? So I have that, and I think I told everybody the story, and I don't know if I've done it on the podcast, but I'm not going to tell it now. We'll do it another time, but just remind me if you can think about it. But when everybody went through that COVID thing, when COVID hit, and everybody's getting those shots, I thought for sure I was going to be sick, so I bought Red Dead Redemption 2 for my machine.
Yeah.
As it ends up, the end of the gag was I wasn't sick, so I had to go to work. So I have this game in there that I bought that I'm dying to play it, and I see these little clips everywhere on social media, and then I start watching them. Well, now it's in my matrix, it's in my stream. So the algorithm, they said, "Oh, he likes this," so they start right. Okay, so I see it, so I just start watching. I'm like, I can't wait to do that one. I can't wait to get on there and do that. And so now I know almost everything about the game, and I've never
played it.
And I've never played it.
I don't watch
so
game
sad.
stuff because I'm like, I want to play this. I don't want to
do too,
see.
yeah.
And it's
I watch to learn. I'll watch games to learn, but I'm not watching somebody. I mean, I'm not watching. If I'm watching somebody play it, it's because I'm trying to figure out how to do a certain thing in that game.
Sure.
But informative for that, I do watch. But I'm
a huge.
I don't watch the
huge
TV
nerd.
where they've got the gamers gaming and people are sitting on TV. It's as bad to me as watching people play poker. I think
Yeah,
that's the
I don't
dumbest
get it
thing
at
too.
all.
I don't get it at all.
I don't watch that.
If you're that addicted to poker, you've got a problem. I think maybe you shouldn't. I mean,
Well, I get there's a certain degree of skill, and the best poker players in the world. It's but in what way? It's mostly luck and lying. So you're good liars.
you're
and
watching guys sit around.
You got good hands. But it's
playing cards.
You could be the best poker player in the world and still lose every hand for 5 hands just because you got crap cards.
Right. Jim,
But I'm a huge nerd, so I spend a lot of my time with war history.
Sure.
Especially really really ancient Peloponnesian and Roman times. Oh, I love it. So I just listen to videos of there's a channel I like called Invicta, and they do huge deep dives on ancient military. 25-minute videos. I just listen to them all day.
cool. That's very cool, man.
They're doing stuff about World War II now, and they just did a huge breakdown on the B-15, the B-15 Flying Fortress. Yeah, huge breakdown on it. It was really cool, really interesting because he broke down every aspect of it. And there's another part. It's a 40-minute video, and he still has another one to go. And it's really cool because I learned a lot of stuff about it that I never knew.
That's awesome.
Good.
Jim, why don't we do one more question here, and then we'll try to see if we get something to eat. Big Daddy's getting hungry.
Okay. During the Generations podcast that Grant and I did, Grant had made a quote. He said, talking about our generation, he was talking about, him and I may have disagreements about things, but when we talk to each other, his quote was, "We listen to understand. We don't listen to respond." Do you remember hearing that?
Yes.
What do you think of that quote?
I agree. Too many people are just so divisive these days, and it's always an argument. I don't get why it has to be. I don't know why people can't just disagree. And it's like, I don't agree with you. And you and I have that. We have, like, I have different views. I align more with Uncle Grant's views. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we get into it, but a lot of times you and I have the respect for, like, we don't need to be arguing about this. This doesn't matter. This isn't, you and me aren't involved in this situation at all. It's like, it's not worth the fight. People can have different views. That's what makes things.
For sure.
Absolutely.
That's what controversy is. It's
Right.
just, you don't have to be upset about it.
Right.
The other person is a bad person because they don't agree with you, and that's just
Right.
like I've been seeing like with the assassination attempt. Mm-hmm. A lot of people who are like heavily left, far left, or they're coming out and like people were saying like, "Oh, I'm glad, too bad he missed and stuff." I'm like, I don't care where you sit. If someone tried to murder another person, that's not okay. I don't care why. It's not okay.
Yeah.
Like, he tried to murder him.
Whether you like
he's
it or
not a
not.
hero. He's not a good person.
Right.
It's a bad person who did a bad thing. It doesn't matter. And it's just for you to think that that's okay is just completely inappropriate.
Well, one of the things that that kind of drove me to come up with that line about that we try to listen to understand and not to respond is that, and I think this came up with a little bit in a sense of upbringing, because when we were kids and your parents talked to you Gen Xers at least, when your parents talked, and Jim will correct me, but you shut your mouth.
Yeah.
If the parents were telling you something, you could tell by their tone if they felt that they were passionate about what they're talking about. And if they're you shut up and you wait until you think they're done, and that forced you to listen to understand. Mm-hmm. Our generation of Gen Xers now, as adults, I think we kind of let our kids have more space that way, where they felt that they could chime in, and they felt eager to defend themselves, or they felt eager to add something to it. So if I had a 2-point sentence that I'm making and making 2 points, you heard half of the first point and never even heard the second point at all. Mm-hmm. Because they got caught up on that, and now they're so caught up on, I want to touch on what you just talked about, that they jump in and interrupt, and then they don't even hear. So they're not listening to understand. They're absolutely listening for their cue to jump in and respond to you, which isn't understanding. And that's
I
what
talk
see
way
a lot.
too much, and I interrupt way too much, like I just did. Mm-hmm. And I've been trying to work on it a lot, and
what the
I
hell's
really
that
do.
all
I
about?
apologize, and like I like halfway through, if I do it and I notice, and I'll like stop, like, I'm sorry, I interrupted. Just continue. Don't even remember what I was saying. Just talk. But I've gotten in the habit of explaining my statement before I even make it. Like with Hannah and I, and when we have like our problems, I'll be like, "This, I want you to understand. This is no way an insult, and this is not directed at you. I just want you to know." And I try to explain, because I know it's going to sound bad, but so I try to go and explain it, not just with her, but with other people. Be like, this is not an insult. This isn't directed at you. This is only an observation, and I don't have all of the facts.
Right.
This is it.
Right.
And that's all I know. And I don't want you to be upset. I don't want you to be mad, and I'm not trying to attack
Right.
you. So it's like you have to almost defend what you say before you say it. And it's just because people get so upset.
Right.
And just like, they're like, well, what does that mean? It's like, that's all I meant. There was
Right.
no deeper meaning.
Right.
Everything I said is what I meant.
Well, I had made the comment to Grant about us, and being on our own more. And if you wanted to, we didn't have the internet. We talked about that, and I said, but we had to listen too, because if your parents told you how to do something, you had to hear it the first time, because they weren't going to tell you again.
Yeah.
And so you had to listen.
Yeah.
If you want to know how to cook your dinner, well, if you don't hear them the first time, you're never going to be able to make that dinner.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you one time how to make dinner. It's the only time you're going to get, and they'll show you, and then you're on your own after that.
There's a good amount of leniency.
But we knew we
with our
had to-
generation, and a little bit too much.
Well, here's the other thing that goes with that too. I mean, and I'm not trying to make this into a political thing
Mm-hmm.
at all, because everything seems to stem back to that today.
Yeah.
In 2024, just everything kind of stems back.
That's all
to it.
anybody talks about. So.
But I remember when, and here's my H card. There you go. When Ronald Reagan was in office, remember how people just absolutely loathed that guy?
Yeah, I
at
remember
times?
that.
So I don't think you would remember that.
No, I don't think you'd remember.
What the hell just happened? What was it? But anyways, I just remember that even with that being the case, and I'm just going to make it up, and let's say Jim was a Reagan backer and I wasn't, okay? We would go back and forth and we would state our piece, and maybe Jim would have such a good point that I would go, oh, you know what? shit, you're right. Okay, maybe I'm thinking about this wrong,
Yeah.
or vice versa.
Or vice versa.
But here's the key thing with this to me, is if we both said, we're going to agree to disagree, then one of us would look at the other one and we'd say, you hungry?
Yeah.
You want to go get something? You want to go something? And we could still be together.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, it's like, oh, you don't have the same views as I do.
Yeah, it's right or wrong, good
Then
or bad.
you're out. I don't
Yeah.
want nothing to do with you. I want you fired from your job. I want, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's out of control, man. It's just out of control.
No, people are way too mean and just
Yeah.
I'm right, which makes you wrong and you a bad person. It's like, why?
Yeah.
I didn't say any of those words. But like, I'm just
Well,
the worst in the world now. Okay.
Think about it
sorry.
like this: when they can go back 20 and 30 years into somebody's past,
Mm-hmm.
where technology was just beginning to be able to like record things and do stuff
yeah.
like that, and they're pulling something that was said in a private conversation from whoever, doesn't matter who, and they're saying, "Oh, this is how you feel." Well, maybe they felt it then, but it's been 25 years,
Mm-hmm.
or it's been 30. You don't. I mean. You can't. You're pulling something out of context, and now you're going to have them
One of the
lose their
biggest
job.
is like
and
when
their home
someone
over
says
that?
like, "Oh,
Makes
well,
no
this
sense.
guy's a bad person for this reason." It's like, "Well, you're the person you like did the same thing." It's like, "Well, that doesn't matter." It's like, "Yes, it does."
Yeah.
It's like I don't care if I believe it or not. If it's the truth, it's the truth. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It just
Yeah.
I don't know why it has to be like, "Oh no, my person's better because I like them, and your person's better because you do." And seems how you don't like my person, you're bad, and you're as bad as that person. It's like,
Well, to put a bow
Okay.
on that, I think what's going to happen is that no matter what your point is, no matter what your viewpoint is, and it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make a difference what it's about, the topic, there's going to be people that are going to agree and there's going to be people that
Yeah.
are going to disagree, and that's okay.
yeah, but nowadays the problem is just
That's
disagreeing.
okay.
It doesn't mean you disagree. It means you're wrong. That's the
Well,
problem.
everyone's allowed an opinion, but
Yeah.
just because you have an opinion, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's factual. Right? You can have opinion, and sometimes I
Yeah.
like stuff, and there's no reason for it, or I dislike something, and there's no reason for it. It's just my opinion, and I am allowed to have that.
Honestly, one of the things I hate the most when I hear like online and stuff is when people say "my truth." I want to punch them in their face. Like, what is your truth? What does that mean? There's either the truth or not the truth, not my truth. Well, what I believe is, I don't care what you believe. That's your opinion, not your truth.
Yeah, there's definitely a difference between that.
Yeah.
Definitely a difference. Well, gentlemen, is there anything else you want to add before we sign off here, Jimbo, for session
break?
1? We're going to take a break
No,
on
I think we're good.
episode 9. Sitting here talking to our big man, Jarod Misson, giving us some of the 411 on his opinion on stuff. So great to have you, man. So we're going to take
It's
a
great to
break
be
here.
here.
We're going to go, and I'm not going to say it.
I have to go to the bathroom.
Use. Oh, he
Our
said it.
favorite guest.
Thank you. We're going to go take a pee break.
Thought I'd say it for you.
And we'll be back. So hang on. Looks like a doob. There he goes. Is it good? Does it work?
Look at me. No.
No. I think you blow it out. Blow through it.
No, there's no holes in there.
Oh, blow harder.
You just want me to make blowing faces. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Duh, duh. Duh. Duh.